I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I'm just trying to make sense of what happened with my wife, Lisa. We've been together for 7 years, and I honestly thought we had a pretty solid marriage. Sure, every couple has its rough patches, but I never suspected anything really serious until a few weeks ago. It all started around our anniversary. We planned a nice weekend getaway to Charleston, just the two of us to celebrate. We booked a fancy hotel, made reservations at some nice restaurants, and I was really looking forward to just relaxing and reconnecting. But from the moment we got there, things felt off. Lisa was more irritable than usual, snapping at me over small things, and she kept checking her phone. I figured maybe she was stressed from work or just tired. I didn't want to overthink, so I chalked it up to that. By the second day, I started noticing more suspicious signs. She was extra secretive about her phone, never leaving it out of her sight, deleting messages, and occasionally she'd get a weird look when I glanced her way. She also suddenly became very interested in her appearance more than usual, and I caught her slipping out of the room late at night, saying she was taking a walk. Yeah, I should have paid more attention, but I was trying to enjoy our trip, to be honest. I had no reason to suspect anything terrible at that point. Maybe just some minor weirdness I didn't know yet. Then I decided to check the hotel bill just to see what we had spent. I was curious about the dinners and the drinks, simple stuff. But I noticed something odd, a separate charge under her name for a romance suite at the same hotel, booked for the same night. I looked closer and there was a time stamp around midnight. My stomach dropped. I thought maybe it was a mistake or some kind of error, but then I remembered how she looked when she slipped out of the room. That was the night she was acting strange, and I'd seen her texting someone on her phone. My mind started racing. Who was she meeting? Why the secret hotel room? I felt like I was punched in the gut. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. But everything was lining up. I couldn't just ignore this. I kept quiet for a while, trying to process what I'd found. But I knew I had to confront her eventually. Every instinct told me that whatever was happening wasn't just innocent. I'd caught her lying already about where she was going, and now I had the receipts. I felt betrayed, angry, and honestly devastated. I didn't sleep well that night, tossing and turning, just replaying everything in my head. The next morning, I waited until she was in the bathroom, then I took a screenshot of the hotel charge and texted it to myself. I wanted proof. I wasn't just going to confront her blindly. If she was cheating, I needed to be sure. I also thought about what I'd say. Was I going to yell, cry? I didn't even know anymore. All I knew was that I couldn't ignore this. No matter how much it hurt, I needed to get to the bottom of it. When she came out of the bathroom, I asked her calmly, "Lisa, what's this charge on the hotel bill? Did you book a room for last weekend?" She looked surprised, then tensed up immediately. Her face flickered with guilt and she shot back, "Oh, just a mistake, I swear. It was a friend's idea. I didn't think it was a big deal." Her tone was dismissive, like I was overreacting, but I was furious. I told her I knew she was lying and I wanted the truth. She finally scoffed and said, "You don't understand, Mike. You're just paranoid. It's nothing. Just a stupid mistake, okay?" That was the moment I realized I was dealing with a lying, manipulative bitch who thought she could get away with anything. My mind was racing. How long has this been going on? Did she think I was stupid? I felt a mix of rage and deep sadness. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one whose wife cheats during what should have been a happy trip. But I wasn't going to just let it slide. I had to decide what to do next, confront her more, or just cut my losses and walk away. I didn't want to be that guy who forgave betrayal so easily, but part of me still clung to the hope that maybe I was wrong. Maybe she was telling the truth. God, I wanted to believe that. After she brushed off my questions with that dismissive attitude, I knew I couldn't just let it go. Something in her eyes, the defiance, the way she looked at me like I was crazy, made my blood boil. I wasn't about to be played for a fool. I decided I needed to dig deeper, get more proof, and see just how far she was willing to go. I wasn't naive enough to think that this was just a one-time thing, especially after what I'd seen. Over the next few days, I started paying a lot more attention to her. She became even more distant and cold, refusing to look me in the eye when I tried talking to her. She'd dodge questions, change the subject, or just give me that bitchy smirk that told me she knew she was getting away with something. I could see it in her behavior. She was planning something, maybe to deny everything, maybe to spin some story, but I knew she was hiding something big. I just didn't know exactly how deep it went yet. One night, I came home early from work. I was determined to catch her in the act if she was still sneaking around. I waited until she was in the shower, then I went through her phone. I wasn't proud of it, but at that point I felt I had no choice. I found a ton of messages, a lot of flirtatious shit with her so-called friend, Jason. They'd been texting back and forth, talking about meeting up, exchanging pictures, even joking about sealing the deal next weekend. It was blatant. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I swear my stomach twisted. I saw enough to confirm what I'd suspected. She was planning to see him again, probably for sex, and was just lying to me every step of the way. I felt like my world was crumbling. How could she do this to me? I'd been faithful, worked hard to build a life with her, and she was out there planning to cheat again. I thought about all the times I'd ignored the little signs because I didn't want to believe she could be capable of such a betrayal. I started questioning everything: our memories, our marriage, my own judgment. I kept scrolling through her messages, feeling more angry and hurt with each line I read. It was all so clear now: she didn't love me anymore. She wanted some other guy, someone she probably saw as more exciting, more daring. The next day I decided I couldn't keep pretending like nothing was wrong. I confronted her again. I told her I knew about Jason, about the messages, about the weekend plans. Her reaction was just as I expected: defensive, bitchy, full of lies. She called me paranoid, insecure, crazy. She said, "You're overreacting. This doesn't mean anything. You're just jealous because I look good and he's probably just a friend." But I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I saw through her lies. This wasn't some innocent mistake. She was actively planning to cheat on me again, and she didn't care. The emotional impact hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt betrayal so deep it was physically painful. It was like waking up one day and realizing the person you trusted most in the world had been secretly laughing at you behind your back. I went from shock to anger to sadness, an impossible mix that left me feeling numb. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her texting Jason, planning their next meeting. Every time I was alone, I felt the weight of her lies crushing me. I wondered how I'd let this happen, how I hadn't seen it sooner. In the midst of the chaos, I started thinking about what to do next. I was furious, but I also felt this strange sense of clarity. I knew I couldn't keep living like this, lying to myself, pretending everything was okay. I decided I'd give her one last chance to come clean, but if she lied again or tried to manipulate me, I'd walk away for good. I had been faithful for years, and I deserved better than this bullshit. I didn't want to be the fool who stayed because of some stupid hope that she'd change. I was determined to protect myself, emotionally, financially, everything. That night, I sat her down again. I looked into her bitchy, defiant eyes and told her I knew everything, that her game was over. I told her I was done with her lies, done with pretending I didn't see what she'd been doing. I asked her straight out, "Are you really going to meet Jason next weekend?" Her response was an eye roll, a sneer, and a shrug. "Maybe, what's it to you? If you want to believe I'm lying, go ahead, I don't care anymore." That was the moment I realized how deeply she didn't care about our marriage or my feelings. It was just about her own selfish pleasure. That realization hurt more than I can say. After her nonchalant response, I felt my blood boiling again. That bitchy smirk she threw my way wasn't just arrogance, it was a slap in the face. I had laid everything out: proof, feelings, my hope that she'd finally come clean, and she just dismissed it like it was nothing. I realized then that I was dealing with a woman who didn't respect me, who didn't give a damn about us. That was a harsh truth I couldn't ignore anymore. I decided I had to act quickly. I couldn't let her go through with whatever she was planning with Jason. Not only because I was furious, but because I knew if I didn't do something, I'd be the one left with nothing. No marriage, no dignity, no respect. I sat down that night and made a plan. I knew I couldn't just confront her again and hope she'd tell me the truth. She was too manipulative, too used to lying her way out of everything. So I decided to do something drastic. I hired a private investigator. I needed real, concrete proof, and I wasn't about to rely on her words or my gut anymore. Within a few days, I had the report back. Turns out, she was planning to meet Jason again next weekend, just like I suspected. The investigator had caught her booking a room at a nearby hotel, same place, different room, on the same dates she'd been lying about. She'd even arranged a cab to pick her up. Seeing that picture of her with her bag, her lipstick on, was like a punch straight to my gut. She was so desperate to hide it, but she couldn't even do that right. I felt numb, but also more determined than ever. I knew I couldn't let her keep going like this. If she was willing to cheat and lie so blatantly, I had to decide what was more important, staying and fighting for my marriage, or protecting myself from being completely humiliated and used. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the evidence I'd gathered. It was like watching my entire life with her crumble into dust. I'd trusted her, loved her, given her everything, and she threw it all away for some cheap thrill with her damn best friend. I stayed up all night thinking about how I'd confront her again, how I'd tell her I knew the truth. I was already planning the words: calm, cold, unyielding. I didn't want to yell or scream. I wanted her to see that I wasn't bluffing anymore. I was done being the fool. I'd spent years protecting her, forgiving her, believing in her. But this was too much. It was the final straw. The next morning, I woke up early and waited for her to wake up. When she did, I looked her right in the eye and told her I had something to confess too. I handed her the printout of the hotel booking, the receipts, the investigator's report. Her face turned ghostly pale. For a moment, she was speechless. Then she started lying again, saying it was just a misunderstanding, that she never wanted to hurt me, that Jason was just a friend with benefits, and that I was being paranoid. She tried to play the victim, saying I was overreacting, classic, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I'd seen her true colors and I knew she wasn't innocent. That confrontation was explosive. I told her I had all the proof I needed and I was done. Done with her lies, her manipulations, her betrayal. I told her I was sick of the game, sick of being used, sick of being played the fool. I told her I'd make sure she didn't hurt me again, and that I'd do everything I could to protect myself, emotionally, financially, legally if I had to. She went into a meltdown, crying, begging, trying to guilt-trip me. None of it worked. I felt nothing but cold resolve. In the days that followed, I felt a strange mix of relief and despair. The relief came from finally knowing the truth, from no longer being blind to her bullshit. But the despair was because I realized I'd lost a woman I loved, someone I thought was my soulmate. I kept replaying everything, her lies, her sneers, her planning to cheat again. It was like a punch in the stomach every time. But I also knew I had to move on. I couldn't keep living in this mess of betrayal and lies. I deserved better. I had to start picking up the pieces and rebuilding my life from scratch. After I presented her with all the proof, she finally broke down completely. Her bitchy facade cracked, and she started sobbing, begging me to believe her, to forgive her just this once. She kept saying it was a mistake, that Jason was just a bad influence, and that she didn't really mean to hurt me. She looked me dead in the eyes and lied some more, claiming she was just feeling lonely, bored, and that sex with Jason was just some stupid fling she got caught up in. She insisted she never intended to leave me, that it was all just a stupid, impulsive mistake. But I wasn't buying any of it. Honestly, hearing her try to spin it that way only made me angrier. I felt like I was talking to someone who didn't even respect herself, let alone me. I could see how she was trying to manipulate the situation, trying to guilt me into forgiving her, but I was done. I told her that her excuses did matter anymore, that her lies had proven she didn't care about me or our marriage. I told her it was over, that I was leaving, and that I didn't want to see her face again until she decided to be honest and truly apologize. The thing is, I wasn't just angry, I was deeply hurt. I'd trusted her, loved her, built a life with her. And all along, she'd been sneaking around, lying, cheating. The betrayal cut so deep I thought I might never recover from it. I felt this overwhelming wave of sadness and frustration, like everything I'd believed in was just a lie. But beneath that, there was also a flicker of clarity. I knew I had to do what was best for me, even if it hurt like hell. That night, I packed a bag and left her apartment. I didn't tell her where I was going at first. I didn't want her to try to manipulate me into staying. I just needed some space to breathe, to think. As I drove away, I looked back at the apartment, feeling a mix of emptiness and relief. I realized that I'd been living in denial for too long, hoping she'd change or that it was all just a mistake. But it was clear now she didn't care enough. She was more interested in Jason and whatever thrill she could get from that than in me or our marriage. Over the next few days, I stayed with a friend, trying to get my head straight. I talked to some close friends, and honestly, hearing their support helped more than I expected. They told me to focus on myself, that I deserved better than someone who could so easily betray me. I started thinking about the future, about whether I could ever trust again, about what I wanted from life now that everything I believed in had been shattered. It was a brutal process, but I knew I had to go through it to heal. Some days were better than others. I'd wake up angry, then sad. I'd get angry again, then feel numb. The pain was relentless, but I kept telling myself that I deserved to be happy, that I didn't need someone who would cheat on me, lie to my face, and then try to blame me for their own mistakes. I realized I'd spent way too much time worrying about her feelings, trying to make things work when she clearly didn't care about mine. That's what hurts the most, how I let her betray me repeatedly, thinking maybe she'd change, maybe she'd see how much I loved her. But love isn't enough when someone's willing to throw everything away for a little sex and excitement. I also started thinking about what I'd do next. I knew I couldn't stay in that toxic environment. I needed to take my life back, rebuild from the ground up. I planned to get a new place, focus on my career, and start figuring out what I really wanted. I knew trusting again would be hard, maybe impossible for a while, but I was determined not to let this ruin me entirely. I still had my dignity, my pride, and the desire to find someone who would truly love and respect me. That's the lesson I learned. Never ignore the signs, never turn a blind eye to the betrayals, and always protect your own peace of mind. Looking back now, I honestly feel a mixture of relief and heartbreak. I'm angry she thought she could just get away with it, that her lies would never catch up to her, but I also know I can't keep living in the past. I've got to move on, learn from this nightmare, and come out stronger. Because at the end of the day, I deserve someone who respects me, who values what we had, not someone who treats me like an afterthought. That's what I'm holding on to, hope that someday I'll find someone who truly cares. It's been a few weeks since I left her place, and honestly, I'm still finding my footing. Some days are better than others, but I've realized something important. I'm done chasing her version of the truth. Every time I try to piece things together, I come back to one cruel fact. She lied to my face for years, cheated on me, and thought she could just keep doing it. That realization hits me hard, but it also sets me free in a way. I finally see what I was blind to all along. I've started to focus on myself. I've gotten a new apartment, one that I picked myself, and I'm trying to rebuild my life step by step. I've been working out more, trying to get fit, and honestly, it helps. Physical activity is therapy sometimes. I've also started talking to a lawyer about the divorce. I want to be done with her, legally and emotionally. I want to sever that tie completely and move on without looking back. The thought of her trying to manipulate the situation or call me again makes me sick now. I've made my decision. I'm done accepting her lies and manipulation. I won't lie. I still have moments where I feel crushed, where I wonder if I'll ever fully trust again, or if I'll always see her face when I close my eyes. But then I remind myself of her actions, of how she betrayed me and played me for a fool. I realize I'm better off without her dishonesty dragging me down. I've started to see this as a chance to rebuild who I am, what I want, and what I won't tolerate in the future. I've learned the importance of listening to my gut and not ignoring warning signs, no matter how much I love someone. The emotional roller coaster is far from over, but I'm learning to handle it. I've cut off most contact with her. Every message or call she tries to send gets ignored. I've told a few close friends what happened, and they've been a huge support. They keep telling me to focus on myself, to heal, and to never settle for someone who doesn't respect me. That's the biggest lesson I'm taking away from this nightmare. Never ignore the signs, never let someone lie to your face repeatedly, and always prioritize your own peace of mind. I've also started reflecting on what I want from a future relationship. Honestly, right now, I don't see myself jumping into anything serious soon. I need time to heal, to trust again, and to rebuild my confidence. But I know one thing: I don't want to be with someone who treats me like an afterthought or a backup plan. I want someone who respects me, who values honesty, who understands that loyalty is everything. That's what I deserve, and I refuse to settle anymore. Looking at everything now, I feel a strange sense of clarity. It's painful, yes, but it's also a wake-up call. I've spent so much time giving to her, trying to make things work, believing that love was enough. But love isn't enough when someone is willing to cheat, lie, and manipulate. Real love is built on trust, respect, and honesty. I learned the hard way that those things are priceless and that I shouldn't let anyone take them away from me again. So, yeah, I'm still hurting. I probably will be for a while, but I'm also stronger than I was. I've faced the worst betrayal of my life and I'm still standing. I know it's going to take time, but I'll get through this. And someday, I hope I'll find someone who truly values me, who won't lie or cheat, and who will treat me with the respect I deserve. That's the goal now: healing, moving forward, and never letting this kind of betrayal happen again. It's strange how life can change so suddenly. One moment, you're living in your routine, trusting someone you love, believing in the future you built together. The next, everything's shattered, and you're left trying to pick up the pieces of a life you thought was solid. I've come to realize that some betrayals cut so deep that they redefine you, force you to see what really matters and what doesn't. Looking back now, I see all the red flags I ignored, all the subtle signs that something was off. I always thought trust was enough, that love could conquer everything. But love isn't just about feelings, it's about respect, honesty, loyalty. And she threw all of that away for some fleeting thrill with her best friend. Honestly, I don't know how I didn't see it earlier. Maybe I was just too blind, too eager to hold on to what we had. But now I see clearly. The pain still lingers. Every time I think about her lying, about the times I trusted her, a sick feeling comes back. But I also feel a strange sense of relief. I'm finally free from the lies, from the betrayal. I no longer have to pretend or make excuses for her behavior. I can finally breathe again, without the weight of her deception pressing down on me. It's a new beginning, even if it's one I never wanted to face. I've learned so much from this experience. Don't ignore your instincts. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Don't get caught up in promises or the idea of changing, because sometimes people don't. They just reveal who they really are when it's too late. If someone cheats or lies repeatedly, it's a sign they don't respect you enough, period. And no matter how much you love them, you have to prioritize your own well-being. As for her, I hope she figures out what she really wants, because if she keeps treating people like disposable, she's only going to end up alone. I won't be there to pick up the pieces next time. I've learned my lesson the hard way. Respect yourself first. Protect your heart. And never let someone's betrayal define your worth. Now I'm focusing on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I'm not rushing into anything, not jumping into another relationship just yet. Right now, I just want to heal. I want to be able to trust again someday, but I know that takes time. What I do know is that I won't let anyone treat me like a fool again. I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect, and I will demand it from whoever I choose to trust next. This whole experience has been brutal, but it's also been a wake-up call. I've been through the worst, but I'm still here, stronger, wiser, ready to move on. I won't forget what happened, but I refuse to let it define me. I'll carry the scars, sure, but they'll serve as a reminder. Never settle, never ignore the signs, and always stay true to yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only thing you have is your integrity, and I refuse to lose mine again.